Big Footy Blues.
Big Footy Blues. Big Footy Blues.
Come on, the Big Footy Blues.
Settle into your seats, sound the siren and bounce the ball. The Big Footy Blues podcast is back once more. Coming up in this episode, we'll savour a victory over the Saints. We'll look at who is on fire and under the pump around the Carlton Football Club. Knock off another round of List It, Love It or Leave It, and we'll preview the upcoming clash versus the Swans. I'm ODN, and here with me to dazzle us with their wit, wisdom and some other superlative starting with W. He might have taken out the June Rising Star Award on the boards, but we all know you're only as good as your last game. Can you handle the pressure to perform, Happy Dude?
Rising Star, more like established star.
Oh, that's debatable.
Wow.
That's up for debate. He started out wearing the green vest for a few weeks, and despite queries about his stamina, he has now become an integral part of our starting side. It's HBF.
Oh, ODN, I've fallen off the podcast couch. Can you give me a boost?
Will you jump if I offer you a dumpling? She might have had some unexplained time off recently, but AFL Chief Medico Peter Harcourt won't confirm or deny if she voluntarily stood down after breaching a 3 strikes policy. Welcome back, BlueBelle.
We're all hoping for your recovery.
Thanks, guys. Good to be back.
Wayne Carey came out during the week and announced Levi Casbolt has the best hands in the business. Patrons at an Adelaide pub say the same thing about our final panellist. What on earth are they talking about, ShanDog?
It's quality over quantity. It's how much I can carry. That's what it is.
And Mebby has the night off tonight. There is no truth in the rumour that she has been suspended from the podcast for choking out Drew Petrie on the weekend.
So who could blame her?
Look, I just have to make an apology, folks. Sorry about that. We did get feedback during the week complimenting us on doing away with the individual introductions, but the panel liked them. And being the contrary person I am, I think we'll leave them in. Let's just start off with a couple of news snippets, shall we? Troy Menzel is the NAB AFL Rising Star nominee for round 16, making him the second Carlton player to receive a nomination this season. Any comments?
When has that happened before? Has that ever happened for us? 2 Rising Star nominations in 1 year?
Oh, I think it definitely has. Yeah, but they weren't much chop.
Wow.
Caroline Wilson reports that Adelaide boss Stephen Trigg remains favourite for the Carlton position and is believed to have the backing of the industry to remain in the AFL system should he depart the Crows this season. The Blues and Trigg are believed to have spoken this last week. I didn't know he was in the running, let alone the favourite. That absolutely floored me.
Yeah, I did hear about that. These boards, the Big Footy boards, will be intolerable if we get another salary cap cheat in with as our CEO.
Seriously.
Terrible.
Do we have a quota in our constitution that we have to fill? What's going on there?
There's a big sign on the door. Salary cap cheats welcome.
I don't know.
Especially if the other rumour is true that was posted up about Cameron coming. If we get him cheaply and we also put on Trigg, I think there'll be big questions asked.
Oh boy.
Well, okay. Well,
I didn't even know that, guys. I hadn't even heard that about Stephen Trigg. That's news to me.
What worries me is that Caroline Wilson seems to have a finger on the pulse a lot. That's a real concern.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you did. It was just raised about Jeremy Cameron, so we might as well address it here. What was the rumour?
The rumour from quite a reputable poster was that one poster came out and said that we were talking to one of the young GWS forwards, trying to get him across, and it was revealed today from another poster who claims to have a source close that that's Jeremy Cameron that we're in negotiation with. Yeah.
Who's a reputable poster? Are you allowed to name them?
Well, the first one was Mark Smurf 3 came out and said that we were talking to the young gun.
Yep.
And the next one was C4 to your door.
Yeah, so, well, 1 out of 2 being reputable, that's good. Sorry, C4, that's okay.
No, it's very interesting. It sent the rumours thread into overdrive. It was it's quite interesting to see people's responses there, and there's some mixed responses too. Some people saying, "Oh, we should be going our hardest to Jeremy Cameron, build the side around him," and some people are saying it's going to cost us too much, we'll go backwards. It's a really interesting debate, I think.
I think it really depends on what we have to give up for him, or
absolutely.
Whether we can get a third or even a fourth club involved. So, look, I'd love it. I'd love to get him to the club, but not if we have to sell the farm to get him. I think it'd just be too big a cost to get him in.
Yeah. Well, HBF wants to keep the farm, everybody. Must like the pony rides. Anyway.
This is the Weekend Wait.
On Sunday afternoon in Etihad, Carlton 24-7, 151 defeated St Kilda 10-6-66. Goals for Carlton, 4 apiece to Henderson, Casbolt, White, 3 to Yarran, 2 apiece to Menzel, Everett, Docherty, and singles to Judd, Bell and Warnock. 10 goal kickers, that's great. Best for Carlton, or named in the best for Carlton, Everett, Curnow, Henderson, Murphy, White, Walker, Casbolt, and McLean. Injuries for Carlton. Carazzo with a quad injury. I thought he went off for a concussion test at one point. And Menzel has a left shoulder injury. And substitute during the game. Bell will replace Carazzo in the second quarter. Gang, how nice was it to hear the song again at full time?
Oh, brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
I didn't know what to do with myself. I was like, well, what's this strange tune? I had to look up the lyrics.
Oh. Don't you sing when they run out? Come on, mate.
I cheer.
Some Eminem song, isn't it?
As for the game, though, the thing that stood out for me was how good it was to see a really all-round performance by the team. Like, the load was spread amongst everyone. There was Everett popped up in the first half and was just absolutely dominating and causing headaches. All of our usual big stars like Mark Murphy, Gibbs and Judd and stuff, they had good game. Well, Gibbs didn't have such a great game, but the fact that we didn't have to rely on him, bearing in mind it is St Kilda, but the fact that we didn't have to rely on him or them to have really big stats, the whole team sort of contributed, so it was really, really good from that perspective. I think that's probably the biggest positive to take out of it.
Yeah, I also think Yarran did quite well as well again. Isn't he having a great year?
Yeah.
He's I was quite pleased with his game. I know I mentioned it last week on the podcast, but I really hate St Kilda, so that was very satisfying for me. I loved it. I loved every second of it. And that Dempster as well, I dislike him so much. And at the start of the game, when they walked out to line up, I was sitting down in row D, so I was 4 rows from the fence behind the goals or behind the points next to the cheer squad, and he walked up to Menzel, and Menzel's put his hand out to shake it, and he smacked it away before the first bounce. So that's why there was a bit of fire going on, and off the ball, like when the ball was up the other end, they were often pushing and shoving and hitting each other, and so it was right on from the beginning, and it was good to get involved, and I told him to hang up the boots, and he heard me, so that was pretty good too.
I think he actually did hang up the boots, at the start of the game, really. He did have a lot of impact.
When he sort of picked that fight with Bell afterwards, he walked back up past the cheer squad, and everyone died down for a second, and I stood up, and I said something like, I think it's time to hang up the boots, Dempster. You've missed your shot at a premiership, so just give it up.
Speaking of Tommy Bell, how was that shepherd on Dunstan?
Yeah, that was brilliant.
It was really. I'm not sure what Dempster was going crook at. I mean, I was sitting up behind the goals up that end, and it looked like a fair enough bump to me. So
it was fantastic.
Fantastic.
Yeah,
fantastic.
Looked great from level 1. Like, it was awesome.
It was probably just the token show of
support for a first-year player. So, they don't like you doing those things to their first-year players.
He was doing crap like that off the ball all game, like just trying to do dirty shit like that. So, yeah.
Second quarter, Saints got right back into it a bit. We probably thought, oh, here we go again.
Yeah.
But we only had 13 tackles to half-time.
Oh, really?
It was an uncontested game, but gee.
The ball.
Yeah, we did have it way more than they did.
Yeah, but even then, as was pointed out in the thread, we didn't have it that much more to warrant such a difference in tackles.
We only had it, it wasn't that much. It was only about a dozen times more. And St Kilda had 22 tackles, which isn't great itself. But for us to only have 13, I don't know. It was an uncontested game, but we certainly picked it up. Well, I think we tripled that. We actually had about 50 tackles by the end of the game, so it did show that we were a little bit, and we were probably more dominant after half time, but we racked up 37 tackles then. So I don't think the work rate was quite there in that first half. Disposals were certainly well up, and inside 50s were well up, but. Look, I'm just on the bets there. Jamison wasn't on there, and I thought he had a great game.
Yeah, he did.
He was their best forward. With that delivery he was receiving from them. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well.
They St Kilda torched the ball so many times going forward. I mean, I can't remember how many times they had Rewalt loose inside that forward 50, and they kicked it over his head, and they just cost themselves so many shots on goal on Sunday. I actually couldn't believe how poorly they actually played, St Kilda. They've got a long road ahead of them.
Yeah, and it's real momentum. It's like it's almost a momentum killer, that, because if there were any hope of wanting to get back to a close score, they had a great second quarter, but the amount of times that they burned the ball when we were on a run, that was the thing that would have turned it around a little bit, and then in the end it just goes back down the other end and we kick a goal. So it must have been demoralising.
And how good was Simon White?
I was about to say, Simon White the forward. There you go.
Yeah, he was right into Dempster a lot as well.
I love his aggression. It's good that we've got some players in the side that do that. He is quite an aggressive, niggling type defender when he's in defence, and that's obviously carrying across to being a forward as well. He doesn't mind getting in their face a bit, and I love it.
Yeah, no, it's great. It's great, and Henderson, Casbolt, and White, they may actually form a nice little sort of, for want of a better word, threesome up in our forward line. So no, it was really good to see him. So I mean, obviously big test this week, which we'll touch on later. But they were awesome on Sunday. Really happy with their output.
Yeah.
Okay, might leave it there, and it's probably time for a little bit of list it, love it, or leave it.
List it, love it, or leave it.
Yes, it's time to list it, love it, or leave it once more. For those playing at home, list it is putting a player on the trade table. Love it is keep no matter what. And leave it is to part company by whatever means necessary. Next one under the microscope is Robbie Warnock.
Yeah.
What are we doing, guys? List it, love it, or leave it?
List it, I reckon.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm with you. I'd list as well.
Yeah, for the output we're getting from him, we could get that from a lesser light, and he has proven himself in sort of big games like finals and stuff. He usually plays really well, so he would hold some value, and players with value are those that we need to be looking to move on and not sort of hang on to until they don't have any value left at all. So I'd list it.
Yeah, I'm inclined to list it as well, just with the proviso that we actually replace him on the list because we're a bit light on.
Yeah, you can get a lot of ruckmen from anywhere that would offer, probably not as much at the hit outs, but more around the ground, or vice versa.
Sure. Yeah, BlueBelle, did you?
Yeah, I'd leave him purely because, I mean, if Cruz doesn't come up next year, what have we got? Cameron Wood.
Oh, so you love him?
No, I don't love him.
Well, you can't leave him. Leave him to get rid of him no matter what.
Oh, sorry. Well, love him then, but I don't really love him. But I love him for the purpose of having another ruckman on our list next year. Jesus.
Play along with our catchy titles, please.
It's confusing. Leave him meaning leave him on the list.
Yeah.
I would just purely look. I think he's had a pretty good year. I would hate to think if we didn't have him this year where we'd be, given Cruz has been out. And I mean, I know he played well on the weekend from what I've read, but is he up to AFL standard? I mean, there's a reason Brisbane and Collingwood both got rid of him. But, I would be... The only time you'd probably put him up is if you did have a ruckman to recruit. And, I'm not sure about the draft, but, I wouldn't be too cocky about it.
I do think we need to incrementally improve in the ruck position. So that means either Cruz are coming back and not getting injured anymore, or we get a replacement, because I think what is he, about 27 now, Robbie? I don't know that he's ever going to be as consistent as we want him to be, and whether he has the makings of a premiership ruckman. But we'll wait and see. It's easy to bash him, but he's serviceable. Next up, Mitch Robinson.
Love him. I reckon love him.
Love him.
He's improved streaks this year.
Yeah. No, I'd list him, to be honest. I think we could probably get something for him this year, Robbo. And look, I love his attack on the footy. He's good. His bad games just outnumber his good ones, and his kicking still worries me a lot. So I think after a good season, I think we could probably get something for him, and I'd list him.
Yeah, I tend to agree with HBF. I'm very worried about the quality of our foot skills and disposal in general, and whilst he's not the worst in the AFL by any stretch, there's guys like him I could see how there'd be a better replacement in someone who might not be as hard at the ball, but has better disposal skills, even as an inside midfield type player. So as much as I'd hate to say it, I'd list him. And if we can get something that's worthwhile, I'd take it.
Yeah, I'm going to say love him because his efforts this year have been much improved. I think he's lowered his eyes when he's kicking. I'm not worried about bombing from the centre clearances. That's what you've got to do to get it out of there. Yeah. I think too often people just go, you're just bombing it long again. But that's what you do in the centre clearance. That's what all the good players do, just to clear the ball and get it in there fast. But I've found that he's actually been spotting up forwards a little bit this year, and he went forward and he's taken a couple of marks here and there, and he's actually shown a bit of. He's got a bit of a spring heel, and I just find that he seems to have matured a little bit, and just maybe toned it down a fraction. I say that after he gets suspended, of course, but I just mean the sort of manicness on field. He's had to learn to change his game a little bit with that sort of sliding in rule and stuff like that, and. I don't know. I just think he's probably form-wise, he's shown probably the best that we've seen from him, and I think you do need one or two of that type in the side, and for what he brings, he's probably right up the top of that list for us. And there's a couple of others with poorer disposal. We could go, you look up the stats for Mitch, and his disposal's his efficiency's never as low as people expect it to be.
Mm.
Yeah, I'm with you, Odie. I think he's had a pretty good year this year. Mitch of the past few years has just bombed it long every single chance he got. He started off doing that a couple of times this year, but he's slowly working that out of his game, and now I find him only really doing that when we're having trouble breaking the lines. Whether or not it comes off is still questionable because it's just a bomb, but he's not doing it anywhere near as enough, and he looks like he's stopping and taking that extra second to think about what he's about to do with the ball. Obviously, he's not a definite, hang on to him at all costs player, so if we do get a really good offer for him, we should take it, but I wouldn't go shopping him around just for the sake of it.
Yeah, I agree completely with you too. I think his aggression, Bit of an extrovert as well, given everyone else seems to be a bit quieter. So this year I think he's improved. Yeah, he still bombs it up in the air, but he's not the only one. I mean, our disposal this year has been terrible across the board, and I just think he brings a lot more to our list than a lot of the others.
Just to play devil's advocate and just to come back to my point, I agree with sort of what you guys have said. I just think that given his year, I think we could actually get something for him. I think if we're going to use like someone like a Tom Bell, who's similar-ish to Robbo, just a bit bigger frame and bigger tank, I think we could get him to perhaps Mitch Robinson's stage in 12 months. But I think we could potentially get more for Robinson at the end of the year if we're looking to really turn the list over.
You're still talking about a pick like a late second rounder or something though, aren't you, HBF? I mean, I guess you're a draft watcher, so picks in the 30s are like gold to you, whereas to me they just feel like they're very much speculators, and it's better watch. The bird in the hand is worth more than a pick 30 in the bush.
Yeah, I wouldn't give him away, but if there was a club out there that really wanted him and was prepared to give up a pick in the the late 20s, I'd definitely consider it. So I'm not saying to get rid of him. Just saying if a club wanted him, we should listen to offers for him.
Yeah, I reckon he's the sort of player that bleeds for the clubs, and in big games, finals, which is obviously what we want to be playing and winning in. He's always puts his body on the line, and he's right in there, right in the contested footy of finals. Yeah. I reckon he's a handy weapon to have at the pointy end of the season.
Okay, all right. Look, we're all bitched out here. Let's move on to Chris Yarran.
Love him.
Untouchable for mine. Absolutely untouchable.
Yeah, he's not going anywhere.
No, and it's love across the board. But at the end of last year, there were many saying that he's one we should offer up in a trade. So it just goes to show.
Did have an average year.
Yeah, it just goes to show what sort of year he's had. Geez, doesn't he look mature? He's gone to the back line. He's actually learned to be defensive.
Yeah, that's a great thing.
I am more confident when the ball is around Yarran than anybody else on our side, and I say that without reservation. Any other player, I am more confident that Yaz will save the day than anybody else. He just has everything.
That right foot pass down to the actually might have been left now. Actually, I can't remember. But down to Coventry and that he hit was it Casbolt in the goal square or something?
Yeah.
That was unbelievable. I was sitting up the other end of the ground, and to see him sort of just look up and just hit Casbolt was just amazing. So his foot skills are as good as anyone in the game, I reckon. Yarran. So yeah, no way he's going anywhere next year. Not a chance.
Just his speed. He looks like he just does it so easy. Like, he's in half a canter almost, and they can't even touch him. He's just amazing, and he just gets the crowd going. And I think he's really matured, as I think ODN said just before.
I reckon he'd be in the running for our best and fairest this year.
Yeah.
I reckon him and Gibbs are probably the two front runners for mine.
Yeah.
It's almost like he trolls the guys that are trying to run after him. He just looks over his shoulder and he goes, "Yep, I've got you covered," and sort of doesn't even get out of second gear.
Nah.
Yeah. And it means he's balanced and still good to go when he kicks, as opposed to Dangerfield, who's sprinting at 100% and then sprays it on the foot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think he was doing a lot of he was showing all those skills before, but he wasn't racking up the numbers. And while he's not, he's not racking them up, given the position he plays, he's getting a lot more of the ball than he used to in previous years. So that just goes to show that he's actually developed a little bit of a tank and he's working harder. It just goes to show his attitude has completely turned around. So that was it last year when he was sort of made to be sub and he didn't really like it. He got sent back to the VFL and all that sort of had that little bit of a message that Mick had to send him, and he's got the message.
Yeah, and the improvement in his defensive side of the game can't really be understated. Or is that the other way around? Can't be overstated. He's the defensive pressure he puts on other people, and the ability to win the ball back on one-on-ones is just so much better compared to last year. That really rounds out his game, and that's why he's so important to us now.
Well, I think once upon a time, people, they liked his dash-off halfback, but they thought he was a bit of a defensive liability. No more.
No.
Yeah. Moving right along, this one will be interesting. Brock McLean.
Yeah, I don't reckon we'll get much for him.
Yeah, I'll just leave him.
Just leave him, I reckon.
See you at the end of the year, mate. I don't think there's going to be a trade on the table anywhere for Brock McLean now.
He'll be a premiership Preston player if they ever win it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's getting to that stage, and if you want to be honest, like he plays some really good football. I was a real advocate of his in the last year or two. This year, I don't know what it is, but the rest of despite the fact we've only won 5 games, the rest of the team has left him behind. He's just not offering us. He's not offering us anything we need. He's not. He's not an in and under player. He doesn't give us the outside run. There's other players now that have come in that actually offer that leading option up the ground. Everett and Docherty, for example. I don't see what the point of having him there is. It's not even. He's not even the player that will pop up and. That you rely on to pop up and kick the odd goal here and there.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say, actually. Is it just me, or has he not kicked as many goals as last year?
I don't know. I mean, he's kicked a couple. I can't. The thing is, they're not memorable for me. If he has kicked them, I don't recall. It just seems a couple of little highlights here and there where you go, nice piece of play. He's a mature player and he does know where to send the ball, but. I don't know whether remember the first couple of years he came to us, and when he came in, he was poor for quite a while because he was hampered by injury, and he's the sort of player that can't carry an injury, and he's playing to me. It just seems like he's back in that kind of vein where he just seems hampered. He's not playing to his best. I don't know. He looks a little bit disinterested, and the funny thing is he's in the leadership group this year. So
I just think with him and Warnock in our midfield, it's too slow and stationary. That's what it really comes back to for me. We need more out of those two sort of people. One of the rovers, one of the people on the ball, and the guy who's the ruckman. We need more from both of them.
Yep. I mean, if he stays on, we've had a few players depart already. So if he stays on the list, I like to see him heading down, mentoring some VFL players for a while, and let a couple of others come through. But time will tell.
That's the biggest thing for me as well, ADN. I think he's, keeping Cripps and Nicky Graham out of the side. So I think we really need to start getting games into both of them. And McLean, whilst he's a bigger body and a senior player, there's really no future playing him. So I think, decide at the end of the year. I'd certainly list him, and then if there's no interest, probably flick him at the end of the year.
Yeah. When was his last contract year? Because he seems to play well in that last year.
Isn't he?
I think he's in it.
1 year deals or something.
Oh, is he? Oh, well, there you go.
I think so. I could be wrong, but I think that's right.
Okay.
Yep.
All right. We'll move on to Sam Docherty.
Love him.
Really been
staying
the last sort of 5 or 6 weeks, coming off an interrupted pre-season. So I thought he was brilliant on Sunday, despite the poor opposition.
Yeah.
Like Yarran, love him. He's not going anywhere.
Yeah, him and Yarran coming off the half-back line, that's brilliant. You'd take that for 5-8 years.
Yep, absolutely. Going absolutely nowhere.
I note that Docherty, he gets just as many inside 50s as he does rebound 50s, which shows that he's working hard. And you'll see him pop up in the back pocket. The next thing you know, he's up in the forward pocket trying to kick a goal. He's really, really covering the ground well. So he's enthusiastic and his work rate is really shining through. He's no Yarran or Bontempelli apparently, but he doesn't play those same roles, so we can forgive him that. He's been a breath of fresh air around the club, and just shows how well we did last year in our trade period. All right, let's move on to On Fire and Under the Pump. Okay, time for On Fire and Under the Pump. Once more, we haven't done it for a few weeks. This week, with On Fire, ShanDog.
Cheers, Ian. I've got Casbolt is definitely on fire, as probably a lot of people would agree with. The last month has seen him lift his game to another level. He's averaging over 2 goals per game, and his work rate has impressed a lot of people. And even Wayne Carey said that he thought Casbolt had the best hands in the competition. And if you look over his highlights in the last few weeks, it's pretty hard to argue with him. He's taken some huge marks. And even with a relatively slow start to his season, Kaz is ranked 9th. He's ranked 9th in total contested marks for the league and 5th in contested marks per game across the whole competition. So that's how well he's grabbing the pill. And for a guy who's just played his 29th AFL game, that's some pretty impressive stats. So when you add to all this that he's been, as a minimum, I would say, holding his own in the ruck as well, he's become pretty much an integral part of the club's best 22, like the starting 22 in our this year. And I like the way that in a recent interview he just said on radio, I think it was earlier this week, he reaffirmed what a lot of us have kind of thought, and that his performance was all about having confidence in himself. And he fully admitted that he needed confidence in his own abilities, and that's what he's reaping the benefits of now. So, having said that, because he gets a rev up on here as being called out as being completely on fire, no doubt he will kick a bag of 6 next week. I'm sure he listens.
As long as he kicks straight.
That's right.
Yeah. Look, there's no one person doing under the pump this week. I think we've, seeing as though we've got one power forward as our on fire candidate, it seems fitting that the one that's under the pump at the moment is the one that's not in the side, and that's Yarran Waite. He did have a good game in the VFL on the weekend. He wasn't so good the week before, but in the seniors he's been a bit. Well, he just hasn't been the weighty of old, and there's a lot of suggestion that he may not make it back into this side. And he's out of contract this year. He's the wrong side of 30, and we're really looking at the future, and it's not boding well for Yarran Waite.
I think the issue with him is where do you put him? Do we go back and put him forward again? We saw how well White, Henderson, and Kaz worked on Sunday, and Rowe and Jamison seem to be going okay down back. So I just wonder whether Mick maybe throws down the challenge to White and says, you've got to earn your spot back rather than just playing for the Northern Blues for a couple of weeks and then automatically come in. It actually wouldn't bother me if he didn't play for the rest of the year. I think we've just been frustrated by him for so many years, and now he just not an automatic walk up into the team. So maybe he'll be at the Northern Blues for the rest of the year.
Yeah, be interesting to see how he handled that. But if he's at the Northern Blues for the rest of the year, then you'll think that he won't be at Carlton next year.
You wouldn't have, no.
I think that's a shame, personally.
Yeah, look, I love Wadey, and we know he's a father-son player, and he's Carlton through and through. But I guess the word is that he's not working to the structures, he's not working to the game plan, he's not doing what's asked of him. And I guess nobody is above all that. It only takes one or two players to be not working the way they're supposed to work, and it will infect the whole team. So, and we've seen, in many games this year that, there seems to be a little bit of a prevailing attitude in the side. It was a matter of trying to work out where it was coming from, and it seems that Yarran Waite's been identified by Mick as one of those that's, I guess, perpetuating that attitude. So we will see.
Pre-game pep talk.
So on Saturday night at the SCG, Carlton take on the top of the ladder Sydney Swans. what do we have to look forward to, folks?
Oh, against Sydney, not much.
Not much? Such a rousing win last week. You don't think we can do the same?
Well, to be perfectly honest, I think Sydney and St Kilda are, streets apart from each other.
Yeah, best and worst.
First and 18th.
Yeah, exactly. I think Tippett out, because he's just been ruled out, is very handy for us. He's one of those big, strong key forwards that holds their position and uses their strength rather than their speed and big tank. He's more like a Tony Lockett, Tom Hawkins type forward, which we would normally struggle against. Jamo can do well on them, but he'd have to take the job on his own because, as Rowe's shown against Hawkins, he's just not that type of defender. So relieved to have him out now. We can have both Jamison and Rowe rotate off Buddy Franklin and try and tire him out a bit because he's got such a massive tank. He likes to push up the ground a fair bit. Battle will be one in the midfield, and with the season we're having, I can't see our boys getting on top of them. We put Curnow on someone to try and take him out of the game, but who are we trying to take out? Do we try and take Kennedy out of the game, or they've just got so many damaging midfielders? I think the outlook looks bleak this week.
I think we outsize them. Our forwards probably outsize them, their defenders, wouldn't you say? We got Henderson, Kaz up there. If we swing Rowe up there as well, I think we've probably got a height advantage there. On a smaller SCG ground, we might kick long a lot more than we have been recently, sort of kick it longer into the forward line.
What's the weather meant to be? Like, when do we play in Sydney and it's not raining?
Yeah, it's just always bucketing down. So, yeah, never know. But I think there are points that we can take advantage of, like that size difference there. Like you said, Tippett being out is a big help to us. That midfield, though, that's going to do everything. They're so well organised, and that team defence that the midfield contributes to that they have is just so well organised that we'd have to be absolutely on our best game to really take it to them. But if we spread the contributions like we did against St Kilda, then there's every chance that we'll push them very, very hard for the win.
I'd be happy to see us pushing very hard to the win because we've been doing that this year, pushing the better sides and sticking with them. I'd be happy with that effort, but I just can't see it with the Sydney Swans. The strength of their midfield at the moment, they're just getting on top of everything. I don't think having a tall forward line would really matter much if we can't get it down there.
Yeah.
I just wonder if Mick might consider moving Henderson to play on Franklin on Saturday night. He has had reasonable success on Buddy when he's played for Hawthorn. I'm not sure we actually have a natural matchup for Rowe, so I just wonder whether Nick might sort of swap those two around and play Rowe forward and Henderson back.
Yeah, that's a good point because as I've stated a few times, I prefer Henderson as a backman, and he's sort of type of player to play on. He's the perfect matchup for Franklin. I don't think we have a better player on the list to play on Franklin.
No, I think Jamison's a better player on Franklin because Jamison is a better defender when he is following up on a lead and can get to, because he's got decent closing speed and a good jump. He's great at following a forward, jumping up, and spoiling and things like that. I think where he's not so good is in the one-on-one body contest, which is great that Tippett's not playing because if Jamison was playing on Tippett, I reckon we'd see a lot of contested marks to Tippett. So I still think Jamo should be playing vast majority of the game on Franklin.
Yeah, I think Franklin's got such a big tank where he could probably tire Jamison out. One thing I've noticed Jamison do, I've pointed out a few times to some people I've been to footy with, like Rewalt's a prime example of a forward that's got quite a large tank and pushes up the ground, is he lets them get a bit of distance on him as they go up the ground and sort of lets them take those uncontested marks on the wing and tries to keep a closer check on them. But Franklin seems a lot more confident in his kicking to try and slot them from 55 metres out than Rewalt does, and that's where I think he'll hurt Jamison. Jamison is our best defender on the list, and I would put him on Franklin, obviously if Henderson doesn't go back, but I think out of everyone we have, the best type-for-type player, Henderson would be the best matchup for Franklin.
I'm sort of loath, Henderson looked a lot better up forward on the weekend. He struggled most of the year. I'm sort of loath to switch him away from the forward line now that he seems to have got some confidence.
Yeah,
I want to sort of see where that goes. But actually, it's funny enough. I would have thought if Tippett was in, that we'd have to have Jarrod Waite come back, and I could have seen Waite on Franklin, especially when he goes up the ground, because Waite loves it in the middle of the ground.
Oh yeah, that's a fair.
Yeah, that is a good point. I just like against St Kilda, they were using Gwilt as a key defender, so
yeah,
I don't think we could replicate that sort of performance from all of our forwards against Sydney.
Right. Look, and for those of you that keeping tallies at home, the mere fact that I suggested Waite might not get back in the side in the last segment, and then suggested he should come back in the side the next segment, means absolutely nothing. But out, none of your business.
Result and margin. What's everyone thinking?
Look, I think we'll go okay. I can't see us winning. I think maybe if we can get within 4 goals of Sydney, a goal a quarter, I think we'll have done okay.
Well, I'm thinking Sydney by 35.
Carlton by 10.
Oh.
Goals or points?
Points.
I agree with HBF. If we can get within 4 goals, a goal a quarter, we're doing pretty well.
Yeah, I was pretty much thinking along the same lines. I thought we could probably push them to being within 18 points, so 3 goals at the end of it. It all depends on how well we can play a team defence role the same way that they would on us on the small ground.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm worried about them blocking us and, sort of choking up the ball a bit on the smaller ground and restricting it. It's the same thing I was worried about last year when, they showed us up a fair bit in the wet. I don't like playing Sydney up there.
I've just checked the weather, guys, and Saturday in Sydney's 17 degrees, partly cloudy, so I think it's going to be a good day for footy. So it's not going to be wet or anything, so good day for footy.
Good, no repeat from last year.
You could knock me over with a feather, the fact that it's not raining and we're playing in Sydney.
It'll change.
What's the deal there?
Yeah. Oh, well, time will tell. I think... I don't know how confident I am about my Carlton victory call, but I'm a little bit buoyed by having a win finally. So, and I think we can provide decent nuisance value for the rest of the season for those finals-bound teams. Hopefully. There's a couple of players who got their tails up and showing a little bit of confidence. Hopefully they can maintain it. All right. Okay, there's the final siren, and once again, it's been a great performance by all. Just want to say thanks to happydude.
Yeah, you're welcome.
BlueBelle.
Thanks, guys. Go Blues.
ShanDog.
Thank you.
And HBF.
Well, I didn't get that Boost Side Thunder podcast from the floor. Thank you.
Well done, guys. We'll see you all next week, or you'll hear us all next week. Until then, go the Mighty Blues. Have a good weekend. Bye.
Bye.